San Francisco, facing the sea, I see a young stud, a young guy arrive and settle down on the next bench. And he has a croissant in a paper bag, and he has coffee in a paper cup. And he proceeds to drink the coffee and eat the croissant with his sharp teeth, and all the while looking seaward. But he sees nothing out there but his own life spread out before him on the laughing waves. And in the meantime, a ferry boat arrives and disgorges its morning cargo into the city. Yes, the city that holds so much promise. The city with its white buildings rising up and up in sun. Oh, radiant city. And after a while, the guy gets up and disappears into the city, and the sun shines down on it. And after a while, a good-looking woman, a young woman, arrives and sits on the same bench, just vacated by the young man. And she has a handkerchief in her hand, and she lets several tears drop, and she wipes her eyes with a handkerchief. And after a while, a man in a stiff suit appears and sits down next to her on the little bench as she continues crying. And he says nothing. He says nothing. As some pigeons strut about on the hard dock, and one of the pigeons comes over and cocks his head at the woman and at the man. Despair and desire are seated on a bench, where after a while the man tries to speak to her, but the words catch in his throat, and he falls silent as she continues crying. And after a while, he gets up and looks at her and walks away without looking back, as she continues weeping. As the pigeon also walks away without looking back, and after a while the ferry departs with a few escaping passengers, and the sun shines down, and after a while the woman gets up and walks away without looking back, leaving the handkerchief with her tears on the bench in the sun. And after a while, a man with a bag and a pointed stick spears the handkerchief and shakes it loose into his bag. As the sun continues shining on the empty bench, while another ferry arrives and disgorges its humans, and another man and another woman arrive and occupy the bench in the sun, and they talk gaily, like they're happy or something like that. And the sun shines down on them too in the morning of their lives. And then the sun goes behind a cloud and then comes out again, and more passengers arrive from out of nowhere. And your mind is a magic lantern. Life sweeps on into the city. Sweet are the evenings when the sun sets on love.